What's up guys, my name's Auk and welcome to the first ever tutorial on the channel. In this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at PBR textures and how to set up your PBR textures coming from Substance Painter into Unity with Poiyomi's Toon Shader. So I feel like this is a problem that pretty much everybody that started texturing with Substance Painter has come across, like how to set up your textures in Unity properly to make them look somewhat close to what we have here. So if I cycle through my maps real quick, if it loads. So we have my roughness here, metallic, my normal, opacity, emissive, AO, normal height, mesh, etc. So how to set up those textures in Unity. So without further ado, let's get started. The first thing that you want to do is head into the description of this video and download my export preset. And then place those files over here in this path. So DSPC, documents, Legomatic, Substance Painter, shelf, export presets. And you want to place those two files in there. Next thing you want to do is go over to File, Export Presets, then go over to Corset. I'm texturing a corset. And I have the size set as 4K. I actually advise setting this as 2K because you don't need it as 4K. And I have my padding set as dilation plus diffusion minus dilation 32 pixels. And then I just have everything checked using this export setting. So everything checked. And then you just export it and then you just wait. And yeah, that's pretty much the Substance Painter part done. And next is Unity. So first thing you might notice is that I have a HDRI set up as the light source for my scene. So I actually advise doing this. You don't want to use normal directional lights or point lights as the light source for PBR textures, in my opinion. Like if you use a realistic looking light source such as a HDRI, it ends up making it a lot easier to set up properly. So first thing to do is actually downloading one. So I'll link this website in the description of this video as well. What you want to do is download a suitable looking HDRI from this website. It's an amazing website for tons of different HDRIs, by the way. And just download one that seems suitable for you. So I just usually go with like 2K, 4K, it doesn't really matter. And then, yeah, download that and import it. And then place it in your Unity scene, Unity project. And then next thing you want to do is make a new cube map. So right click, create material, and then you set the shader from Skybox into cube map. And then you grab your HDRI. Sorry, this one. This is the HDRI. And then you want to set that texture shape to it's gonna be 2D by default, and you want to set it to cube. And then you want to set up the original size. So this would actually be 2K because it's a 2K map, but yeah, you can just put it as 2K. And yeah, then once you've done that, you grab your HDRI, you put it in here as the cube map in here, and you can play with the exposure to make it brighter or softer. You can rotate it even, and you can also mess with the tint color. And now you set this up. So if you go to lighting, and if you don't have a lighting tab, you can go over to a window, rendering, lighting settings, and that will pop this window up. And then you want to set up that cube map that you've just made and place it into the Skybox material. And then you can just copy these settings that I have over here. I'm not gonna go and explain them because yeah, this video will get even bigger than it already is. So yeah, just copy these. And then you just hit auto generate and generate lighting. And then that's pretty much your scene done. You now have the lights. Your HDRI is now the light source of your scene. Then you just turn off any other light source, of course. But yeah. Next thing is actually taking a look at the texture import settings of all the textures that you've used. So I actually don't need this. I don't know why this is duplicate, but yeah. So I have all the textures that I've created for the core set here present in my scene. And the first thing we want to do is set up, make sure that the only color information is coming from our base color, obviously. So go onto each single texture and make sure that base color is the only one that has sRGB color texture checked. So except for this one, for your metallic gloss map, which is something that I'll get into later. But yeah, make sure everything here is unchecked for color information. Next, you want to go onto each texture and set up your NSO level to 8. I find 8 being a nice balance, so you can go higher if you notice a difference. You can go lower if you don't. Up to you. Next thing you want to do is go to your normal map, because the normal map comes imported as default, texture type default, and you want to set that as normal map. Next thing you want to do is make sure that the max size of your base color is set as the original size of the resolution that you exported it at. And you want to make sure that the rest that you're using is actually not set as that max size of like what you exported as. The reason for that being is that while you technically can, it's going to be very, very unoptimized. Your file size, your VRAM usage is going to go through the roof. Yeah, I just advise putting this way lower than it has to be. I mean, way lower than 4K. So as you can see, I even have some of this stuff as 1K, 2K, 512, 1024, yeah. And then you want to, of course, even compress it even further. So like crunch compression and compression quality 100. And then the only thing that you want as 4K is like your base color, because that's where most of the detail is coming from. So if you can place everything else lower, then it serves as a nice balance between quality and optimization. Yeah, that's it. That's mostly everything that you need to know about import settings. So we can actually get started on setting up the actual material for the corset here. So right over here, I have a new material. It's currently set as Poiyomi Pro. This also works with free Poiyomi. I just happen to have Poiyomi Pro in this project. So yeah. Okay, let's get started. So rendering preset, because I know this is going to be a cutout material, I'm just going to set this as cutout, because the buttons are actually cut out. It's not actually there in the geometry. It's a transparent material. Yeah. So this is straightforward. Base color goes into base color, so we have our ugly black corset that has nothing really going for it. Next thing is setting up the normal map. So we put a normal map where it belongs, and you still don't notice any detail from the normal map coming through, which is fine. We're going to get to that. Next is opacity map. I have my opacity map in there. As you can see, I have my holes being transparent now. I can even go and bump that make that even better, so I can go to cutoff and make it a bit better. Yeah. All right. So zoom out again. Next thing we want to do is scroll down into lighting and reflections, and then go into light and shadow. As for lighting type, I prefer using tune still. you can actually use realistic. Some people find realistic looking better, but in my opinion, that it looks great. It really does look great, but it looks a lot like standard shader in worlds that have bad lighting. So if you want to be safe, just use Toon for now. I don't find realistic a very good option yet. It's up to you. You can play with realistic. I just prefer Toon. These settings, I kind of leave them as default, except for the lighting ramp. So as for this, lighting ramps, you kind of want to try to match the color of your material. So the skin would, the lighting ramp for my skin would be like a pink, like it would be like this. This would be my lighting ramp for my skin. But this is not skin, so something like this or this would probably look nice. So that's lighting ramp. Next thing you want to do is go over to ambient occlusion. So let me take my AO. And then it's just a simple matter of grab my AO and put it in there. You can immediately see that my material suddenly becomes darker. So if I play with the slider, you can see that my AO is coming through here. And you can see it. Next thing is I like placing rim lighting on my materials. So if I activate rim lighting here, you can immediately see that this is way too much. So I like to bump the sharpness down. Color buy is quite down, and then with something like this, and that gives you a nice soft rim light on the corners. I mean, like so, you know. And then for rim color, if you want to make it a little bit darker, if you've got a dark material, you can make the rim color darker as well. You can even make it red. Yeah. I find this looking pretty nice, and what you might have noticed is that rim lighting helps with bringing out normals. You can see that some of the normals that we had in Substance Painter have started to come true, like around the stitches here. Yeah, so that certainly helps. Rim lighting certainly helps with that. Next is environmental rim lighting. This is very nice. So if you're someone who goes to like a Void Club, for example, a lot, Void Club has very nice lighting that makes your environmental rim lighting look really nice. You're gonna get like a studio club sort of lighting going on your as rim lighting on your skin. It's really nice. I highly suggest turning this on. So even this, you blur this out a little bit, as you can see on the sides here. So this is really smooth. If you have nothing of it blurred, you see how it gives you like a watery effect. Make this something. I'm gonna make this something like this. Rim with similar cases before, something like this is probably fine. Sharpness down, intensity 1 is fine. Yeah, that's environmental rim lighting. Next is a big one. This is a really important one, which is probably going to be the most impactful one, is metallics. I'll first show you the deprecated version of metallics, because I personally use both still, depending on what is better, what looks better. So first is metallics, and you can see how this makes it a lot brighter. And then what we want to do is grab our metallic map. This is my metallic one, and place it in both of these. And then we can place with the metallic slider. You can see that that brings out the metallics of my material. So this is way more metallic-y. I don't know if this makes a difference. You can see how that makes a big difference if you don't leave it there. So yeah. Next is the roughness map or smoothness map, because Poiyomi Shader uses smoothness maps. So we grab our roughness map, place it in smoothness map, and then we invert it. So the inverse of a smoothness map, the inverse of a roughness map is a smoothness map. So hence inverting it. So we just bump that up until we get something that we like. So you can see that this helps making that metallic bits look very nice and smooth as we intended it. So something like this, which may even be too much, but if we go back to Substance real quick, we can kind of see that this is starting to match this quite nicely, the metallics. And next thing that you want to do is go over to your specular reflections. And this is something that also helps bring out normals and stuff and just makes it look pretty damn nice. I highly suggest putting this on pretty much anything that you could think of. It helps with so much and makes a lot of stuff look even better than it can be. So yeah, I have my specular type set as realistic in this case, and metallic, same case as before. We grab our metallic map, place it in there, bump it up, and same for our roughness, invert it, and you can see what effect that gives you. It really helps bring out the normals of the letter of the microset a lot. So yeah, you can even mess with the smoothness a bit here, because what you might notice is that the stitches over here, these ones, they look very washed out, like almost like they're wet, and that's not something that we want, especially for a cassette. So we're gonna lower the smoothness a little bit from that, so we don't get that watery look to it. All right, there we go. And yeah, so as I said earlier, the metallics category is actually deprecated, and we actually have a new metallics and specular tab right over here, this one. So what we can do for this is grabbing our metallic gloss map, placing it in there, and then open it up and go to invert glossiness. The reason why we do that is same as before. I've used a for my A, I've used a roughness map, and I'm just inverting it so it becomes a smoothness map, because Poiyomi works with smoothness maps, not roughness maps. So yeah, there we go. Next, I'm also enabling it might help, and yeah, then we're gonna grab my roughness over here. I'm gonna place it in there. I'm gonna grab my metallic, place it in there, and then I'm just gonna bump up these values, like so, something like this. And this is the reason why I said that I still use metallics as well, because I honestly don't notice a huge difference between the two just yet. I don't know if this is just me, if I'm just doing something wrong. Of course, could very well be, but yeah. What you can see is that the anisotropic effect is clearly there. Here it is. So if I have it something like this, you can see how that anisotropic effect is there once I pan around it. But as well as that, the metallic bits seem to look a lot like more glossy than they are in metallics and specular. Those are the two big differences that I find. Other than that, just use whichever you prefer, I'd say, for now. But yeah, I think it's good that we do still cover this one, because this one might be worked on in the future even more, and it's going to be more mainstream than this one is right now. So there we go. Next is not really so much a lighting thing, not so much a PBR thing, but more of a nice little trick that we can do. So for our ambient occlusion, you might notice that it's like, if it's not dark enough for you, you want it even darker, but you have the strength of your AO already set to 1. A cool thing you can do, this works especially well if you like really dark shading, like really incredibly dark shading. So if I activate my matte cap here, this is just going to be one of those tricks. And I have my ambient occlusion map here. And I've opened this up in GIMP. So here it is in GIMP. And I went to colors invert. I just inverted the colors of it, basically. Right? And I imported it back again in Unity. And once I go over to my matte cap and use the inverted one as my mask, and then grab a dark matte cap, so this one, and then I can set this to replace or add or whatever, and then I can use this to multiply, or not really multiply, but increase how much the ambient occlusion is, the ambient occlusion effect. So it's just a little trick of like using a matte cap to make it even stronger than before. So if this video helped you out and you've learned something, then make sure to subscribe and like and hit the notification bell to stay up to date for more videos like this. I plan to make a lot more videos like this that focus on educational things, on the more advanced, complex things of creating content for VRChat. So that said, have a great day, and until the next one, goodbye.